What's up, guys? It's Lugo back with Flex Appeal episode 133. Today was week 22, day number 7, our secondary deadlift session of the week. I did stiff legs today, in which I transitioned from RDLs last week. I kind of wanted to try bringing them back in. And for me, I kind of want to clarify because people have lots of different definitions, or maybe the one that I've been seeing the most recently is like the knee angle. I guess you have a little bit more of a bend with people in RDLs, and stiff legs, you kind of just like push your knees back. But for me, I've always differentiated it between RDL being not touching the ground and keeping the tension, and stiff leg touching the ground. I would say people are probably more correct with the knee angle, uh, keeping a slight bend versus just like, going pushing your knees back and just pushing it down. That makes a little bit more sense, but I just like to differentiate it with, touching the ground because that's easier for me to do than just like um, trying to get that feeling, although it's probably better. But overall, I feel like the lots of blocks that I've done with RDL so far have definitely helped build my deadlift. But getting back into, being maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks away from starting another strength block, I kind of want to try to get in a little bit more, I guess, specific movements. And I guess stiff leg is a little bit closer to your deadlift than something like an RDL. And I really want to try to build volume on it because I haven't done stiff legs from the ground in quite a while. Like I've done deficit stiff legs before. Usually I would go there so as to not load stiff legs that heavy, but I kind of want to see how pushing them heavy for, you know, 2, 3 week waves or would go, or I think it's 3 week waves, so like 9 weeks, and kind of see where we can get up to before we transition this day back to pause deadlifts. But I kind of really like how these felt, like a lot. I ended up doing my first set, which was kind of like a dead stop, and I was like, you know what? I think that I can get away with doing a soft touch, not bouncing, obviously, but like letting the weight touch the ground, keeping tension, and then going back up. And I feel like I did pretty well with doing that, where it's not like bouncing off the floor because I don't really like that, and I feel like you're edging on injury. So I decided against that, and I was just soft touching, which is really good. But here I decided, looking back on my training, I have historically done barbell rows quite a bit. I've never been a huge fan of like dumbbell rows, but I started doing them again. But I realized my back not only feels stronger but looks better when I have like a free, row movement. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do Pendlay because I like doing it a little bit stricter. I've, past, if you've been watching for a while, you've seen me do Yates, which I'm not like a huge fan of Yates. I feel like I kind of get too sloppy too quick. And so I started doing Pendlay. The first set you could see is a little bit different from the second one. If you go back and look at it, I'm like going a little bit higher to like my sternum on the first set, and then I've kind of corrected it on the second one where I'm bringing it lower, maybe not all the way to like my belly button, but maybe like a little bit higher. And I really just like to do pen lays like that where I'm not actively trying to go higher, but I'm just pulling it off the ground, letting my torso rise a little bit, and then just bringing it to where it goes normally, which could be anywhere for a lot of different people, and that feels the most natural to me. So as I'm not like in a weird position, bringing it down, bringing it too high or too low, you kind of run into the issue where you're jamming into your knees and you have to like adjust your position pretty rapidly, and like kind of like let it get away from you. So I hope that makes sense because I really like doing Penlay the way that I did it on that second set, and I'm really excited to start to progress those and see how they end up going. But aside from that, this was a pretty good session. I feel like I'm getting back to the meat and potatoes type of deadlift training that really got my back strong in the first place. And I feel like even adding in some more chest supported stuff and, coming back, I feel like has also helped my back grow quite a bit. And I feel like I'm really trending in a great direction for building my deadlift, even more than before. And that's pretty excited, because most of the time when I've done deadlift training, I've always done it on a stiff bar, regardless of if I was competing in a IPF or not IPF, USAPL or USPA. Even though I've only competed USPA, so I've always done my deadlift training on a stiff bar because of Dan Green. He was a very big influence in my early training career where he always competed on a stiff bar unless he was training for a meet because it just helped him get more consistent reps. And so for me, my best stiff bar pull is like 600. I think I did like 585 for 2, 530 for 5. And so moving forward, I'm really looking to break those PRs at some point, on the stiff bar and at a lighter body weight. So I'm really excited for these next few training blocks, especially when my weight starts to, get close to where it needs to be because right now I'm really trying to figure that out. I would like to be relatively leanish, like 15%, 12 to 15 would be where I want to maintain. And so we'll end up seeing where that is because I haven't been there in my adult life. I haven't been there since I was like, I don't think, I honestly don't think ever, since I was a kid. So it would be interesting to see where that weight ends up being, because I feel like the last time I was 215 a few years ago, I was still in like 20% body fat range. My abs started to come in and then obviously I fell off, but I really think it would be around 190 to 200 would be where I'm going to maintain my weight and end up being at. Um, if I have to get a little bit leaner than that, I don't know if I would do it. So um, we'll end up seeing. I ended up babbling a lot, but that's pretty much it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribe. And I will see you in 2 days for the start of week 23. Thanks for watching.